Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now. The bodies of two people found as crews battle a Manitoba wildfire.
Emotionally and physically I'm numb.
The heartbreak and destruction with families forced from their homes.
Reduce taxes for the 22 million Canadians.
Who will benefit from this new tax cut?
Worldwide in terms of production of oil and gas.
And can a united Canada become an energy superpower?
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
I'm Heather Wright in for Sandy. Two people are dead in Manitoba as wildfires rage in the southeastern part of the province. The RCMP confirmed the bodies of a man and a woman were found near Lac du Bonnet after they got trapped by flames in the area. This tragic development comes as more evacuations were announced today and states of emergency were declared in 6 different communities northeast of Winnipeg. CTV's Alex Karpa is in Lac du Bonnet and has been speaking to those forced from their homes. Alex.
Heather, about 1,000 people have been evacuated here in the Lac du Bonnet area, which is about 100 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg. I was actually in this area yesterday, and we were close enough to the fires in the distance so we could see the black smoke billowing into the sky. We could also see the flames ripping through the trees, so it was quite the scene to be at. But it's a little bit of a better situation today. The winds have calmed down a little bit, and it's about 10 degrees cooler than it was yesterday. But I'm not sure if you could see on your screen there, it's very smoky in this area. So every breath that I'm actually taking right now, it's a little bit harsh, and it's making it a little bit harder to breathe in this area today. I did speak to some people here who were forced to evacuate, and they said it's been a really hard 24 hours.
I don't know. It's emotionally and physically I'm numb. I'm numb.
You could tell when the fire was white and then it changed black, it means it was burning a house. So there was, I'm sure there's quite a few houses that got lost in the fire yesterday.
The province did give an update this afternoon saying the fire situation in Manitoba is challenging right now. There are 24 active fires, 6 of which the province says needs a significant response. Heather?
All right, CTV's Alex Karpa, thank you. Mark Carney's cabinet met for the first time today. The Prime Minister describing his front bench as purpose-built to deal with crisis. Carney has vowed his government will act quickly on the many promises made throughout the campaign. And today he signed a directive ordering the government to enact legislation for a middle-class tax cut. CTV's Judy Trinh joins us now. And Judy, some action on day one, but also challenges ahead.
Heather, the Liberals are still in a minority government situation, and passing legislation will require them to negotiate with opposition parties.
It's my pleasure on behalf of the Cabinet to sign this order to deliver that tax cut. Thank you very much.
With the stroke of a pen, the Prime Minister ordered his government to deliver a middle-class tax cut by Canada Day by reducing the lowest income tax rate by 1%.
The first order of business of the first cabinet of the new government under Prime Minister Carney was to offer to Canadian a middle-class tax cut, a very significant step that will benefit 22 million Canadians across the nation.
When Parliament resumes, the Liberal government will table legislation that aims to save a 2-income family up to $840 a year, a campaign promise estimated to cost $28 billion over 5 years. The government has just 20 scheduled days in the upcoming session of Parliament to pass the bill.
And I think we're going to see our government run like a corporation, which I think is long overdue.
With 170 elected MPs, the Liberals need to find at least 2 more members from other parties to vote with them.
We expect other parliamentarians to support, obviously, the government, because this is about Canadians. We are in a dire situation.
The other big priority is to eliminate federal barriers to provincial trade by July 1st. That won't compensate for lost revenue from U.S. tariffs, but it could add $200 billion to the Canadian economy each year.
We need it right now, and I really believe this is a moment we can get it done. internal trade has become sexy. It has. I know, it's funny, but yet true.
On May 27th, King Charles will deliver the throne speech and outline the government's priorities. These priorities do not include outlining a budget. Instead, the finance minister says to expect a fall economic statement. Heather.
Judy Trinh in Ottawa. Thanks, Judy. As U.S. tariffs threaten the economy, Ontario and Manitoba teamed up today to tear down trade barriers with a message to the rest of the country.
I want to put out that warm and hearty handshake to all the other premiers to join us and do this work together.
And it'd be a shame if they weren't, because, you know, they're going to miss the train.
The neighboring provinces agreed to boost the flow of goods and services, including alcohol sales, and the flow of labor between the two provinces. Ontario recently signed similar agreements with Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. The new Energy and Natural Resources Minister, Tim Hodgson, says he plans to visit Western Canada, quote, very soon, as Ottawa tries to reset its relationship with the West and work with the provinces to kickstart new energy projects. Those comments, though, come as another minister in Mark Carney's government questioned the need for pipelines. CTV's Michael Couteur is following these developments in Ottawa. And Mike, what's going on here?
Well, Heather, the former Environment Minister doesn't think Canada needs another pipeline. But Prime Minister Mark Carney was clear. He wants this country to become an energy superpower.
Will I support building a pipeline? Yes, that simple answer.
In a Canadian exclusive with CTV's chief political correspondent Vashi Kapelos, Prime Minister Mark Carney said he's open to building major energy projects. But the former Environment Minister and current Quebec Lieutenant points out the federal government already bought the Trans Mountain pipeline.
That is only used right now at about 40% capacity. So I think before we start talking about building an entire new pipeline, maybe we should maximize the use of existing infrastructure.
The only Liberal MP from Saskatchewan insists Cabinet is united.
We're third worldwide in terms of production of oil and gas. We want to build on that success.
And Carney is willing to remove barriers that slowed nation-building projects.
We will change things at the federal level that need to be changed in order for projects to move forward.
Does that include C-69 or the emissions cap?
Yeah, it could include both. Yeah, absolutely could include both.
Bill C-69 is a 2019 law that changed the environmental review process to include social issues when approving energy projects. In a post on social media, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith criticized that law and Stephen Guilbeault's comments, saying they were both, quote, destructive to Alberta's and Canada's economy and investment climate. Ontario's Doug Ford says the law has hindered large-scale infrastructure.
It doesn't allow all of us across the country to move forward in a rapid speed, and I really appreciate what Prime Minister Carney mentioned yesterday.
Expect those issues to be discussed again when the Prime Minister meets with the premiers next month in Saskatoon. Heather.
Mike Couteur in Ottawa. Mike, thanks. Let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapelos now. Vashi, an ambitious agenda for Carney's new team. What from today stood out for you the most?
Well, I'll pick up, Heather, where Mike left off, because that contradiction around pipelines between the position asserted by the Prime Minister in our interview and then the comments from Stephen Guilbeault this morning, that certainly stood out. And it wasn't the only contradiction. There was also one around housing with Gregor Robertson, the new Minister for Housing, essentially saying that he didn't think that driving prices down necessarily was what was going to make houses more affordable, that the focus should be instead on increasing the supply of affordable homes. And that is, again, in contrast from what Mark Carney said yesterday. So what the Prime Minister said yesterday. So that contradiction and where it goes, ultimately, you know, the degree to which the Prime Minister has the ultimate say, and he seems to indicate that he will, that'll be something I think to keep our eyes on.
Of course, the middle-class tax cut high on the agenda. Is that going to be enough, though, to make a dent in the affordability issues that Canadians are facing?
Well, I think the Liberals have estimated, the government has estimated it saves the average two-couple household about $840 a year. And that's not nothing. That is significant. But I think there's a whole lot more that they promised to do. It is interesting that it sounds like there won't be a budget, for example, just a fall economic statement. So we'll have to, I guess, keep asking questions about what else they plan to do in short order to address the affordability crisis. I'll also be watching, though, in the vein of that, to keep an eye on whether or not other parties support that tax cut as it gets into Parliament.
All right, day one, Vashi Capellos, thanks for this. It has been 1 week since police in Nova Scotia scaled back the search for Lily and Jack Sullivan, the brother and sister that went missing at the beginning of the month. And while investigators continue to receive tips relating to the missing children, their disappearance remains a mystery. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth is in Pictou County and joins us now. Paul, what are neighbors telling you?
Heather's 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan went missing almost 2 weeks ago. People who live here say they are horrified and they want answers.
Well, the mood of the community last week was more of hope, tension, apprehension, waiting for good news. And when that good news didn't come, I think the mood has changed to one of sadness for sure.
When Lily and Jack Sullivan disappeared on May 2nd, more than 160 searchers scoured through 6.5 kilometers of wooded area near the home where they disappeared. The search was scaled back last week, but the investigation continues. Pictou County Warden Robert Parker says everyone is waiting daily for good news to be delivered by the RCMP.
I think so far patient. Not everybody, but the majority are patient at this point.
The Sullivan children both attended this nearby school. Last week, there was a public meeting held to provide information and offer support for families in this community, especially young people.
Am I safe at school? Am I safe anywhere? And we have to, as parents and as adults, assure our little ones they are safe, and we have to make sure they are safe.
CTV public safety analyst and former OPP Commissioner Chris Lewis says an investigation like this can put a strain on the entire rural community.
Because everybody either knows those children or knows their parents or know their grandparents or all of the above.
The RCMP are pursuing multiple layers to this investigation. In a release, they said they have received more than 180 tips, and they will continue to interview people in this community until they find out what happened to Lily and Jack Sullivan. Heather.
Paul, thank you. To the Middle East now, where Donald Trump met with Syria's leader a day after announcing the U.S. would lift sanctions on that country. It's the first time presidents from the two nations have met in 25 years. Syria's interim president is a former jihadist who spent years fighting U.S. forces in the region. CTV's Joy Malbon joins us now from Washington. And Joy, this meeting has the potential to reshape the Middle East. What did Trump have to say about it?
Hey, Heather. Well, Donald Trump described Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, as a good-looking, tough guy with a strong past. That refers to the man the U.S. once described as a terrorist. Trump lifted U.S. sanctions on Syria, which is critical to helping that country get back on its feet, and urged the new leader to normalize relations with Israel. But it's not just diplomacy, Heather. It's a deal-making trip for this president, getting nations to invest in America. Now, after a lavish welcome in Couteur, he got down to business. Have a listen.
It's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. That's pretty good. And that's 140. Was that a 140 or 160? Well, yeah, but you're right. It's actually 200, including the 40. So it's over $200 billion. But 160 in terms of the jets. That's fantastic. So that's a record, Kelly. And congratulations to Boeing. Get those planes out there.
Well, and speaking of planes, Joy, the controversy surrounding the Qatari gift of a plane to replace Air Force One continues in Washington. What are you hearing on that front?
A jumbo jet controversy for sure. The president is still defending Qattar's proposed gift of a luxury jet known as the Flying Palace to be used as Air Force One. Overnight, Trump pushed back against the criticism. Democrats, even his own party, say the gift raises serious ethical and security concerns. Trump spoke to Fox News on Air Force One. Have a listen.
Some people say, oh, you shouldn't accept gifts for the country. My attitude is, why wouldn't I accept the gift? We're giving to everybody else. Why wouldn't I accept the gift?
The president is trying to cement ties between the U.S. and Gulf nations, but there's also a possibility, Heather, Trump might attend negotiations in Turkey to try and end that war in Ukraine. Heather?
All right, Joy Mablin in Washington. Thanks, Joy. Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have left at least 70 people dead, according to local health officials, in a strike that reportedly was targeting Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar. Gaza's health ministry says that death toll includes 22 children. The attacks came a day after Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu said there would be no way he would halt Israel's offensive before Hamas is defeated, and after Hamas released an Israeli-American hostage. Neither Israel nor Hamas have commented on whether Sinwar was killed in the strike. Coming up, it was supposed to power the future.
A lot of it because there is no incentives.
So why does the electric vehicle market appear to be sputtering? Canada has bet big on electric vehicles and the batteries needed to power them, giving billions of dollars to companies in both direct investments and tax breaks to lure them here. But with manufacturers now scaling back or pausing EV plants, questions are being asked about Ottawa's decisions. CTV's Adrian Gobriel joins us now with more on the future of an industry, Adrian, once touted as transformational.
Heather, Honda's decision to stall its electric vehicle plans for Ontario has caused some industry watchers to pause and reevaluate other large-scale Canadian EV project pledges by Stellantis and Volkswagen.
Canada's EV industry is experiencing more of a short circuit than a wide-scale power outage, according to experts.
I do think that EVs are the future. I think this is where we are going.
But there's no denying that EV sales are slumping in Canada to begin 2025. The federal government has parked its EV rebate program. Ontario, for example, hasn't offered consumers incentives since 2018.
The question is, will it pick up? Because a lot of it because there is no incentives.
Ottawa's newly appointed Minister of Industry is now facing multiple questions on the struggling Canadian industry that just 12 months ago was proceeding full speed ahead.
I've already been in contact with the CEOs of GM, Ford, and also Stellantis. My goal is to be able to have good conversations with them before the end of the week.
Stellantis' NextStar Energy joint venture to open Canada's first large-scale battery plant in Windsor, Ontario, is on track to begin cell production later this year. Volkswagen and PowerCo are scheduled to open North America's first EV battery cell gigafactory in St. Thomas, Ontario. The company told CTV News they remain on track for initial production in 2027, followed by a demand-based ramp-up of commercial production. Though the batteries scheduled to be built on Canadian soil are for VW vehicles being made in South Carolina and Tennessee. Canada's large-scale auto infrastructure investments are now facing stiff headwinds due to Trump's tariff storm.
The board of Volkswagen is going to come and say, okay, what's happening with us? Are we still keeping with the same decision? Should we postpone also and wait?
Electric vehicle insiders say investment in Canada's EV supply chain is only part of the solution. Unique consumer incentives will also need to be reinstated, especially if Ottawa is serious about exclusively selling zero-emission vehicles by 2035. Heather.
Adrian Gobriel, thank you. CTV News will be right back. When we think of sky-high house prices, it's often Vancouver or Toronto that come to mind, but smaller cities are also seeing home prices rise at a staggering and unaffordable pace. And as CTV's Sarah Plowman reports, it's making the dream of home ownership ever more out of reach.
In a common space, people share a common problem. Housing feels unaffordable. He bought 2 years ago and paid $40,000 over asking.
It's not affordable, actually.
25-year-old Grace Couteur moved back with her parents to save.
And I feel like I should be in a different spot in my life right now with my housing.
This realtor sees it every day.
It's near impossible for young people to buy their first home. Oftentimes they're required to have assistance from family.
According to a new report, housing affordability in Fredericton has worsened at a dramatic pace. In 5 years, the median price of a home jumped 85% from $210,000 to nearly $388,000 last year. 6 years ago, a family earning $100,000 could afford 93% of the properties listed in this city, but last year that number shrunk to 29%. A family earning $60,000 that could once afford 60% of the listings can now only afford 3% of what's out there.
Post-COVID and during COVID, you've seen this large intra-Canadian migration from large urban centres into what you would consider smaller centres like Fredericton.
You know, housing prices have outpaced incomes by a significant amount, particularly over the last 5 years, and people are having to get quite creative about how they're going to get into the housing market.
Prime Minister Carney promised to double the rate of home building over the next decade. The new federal housing minister was asked if he thinks prices need to come down.
No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy. We need to be delivering more affordable housing.
And it's not just houses that have gone up. The cost to rent has too, making saving for a home even more difficult. Heather.
Sarah, thank you. An army of volunteers have come together to help kids in need and to fight food insecurity.
A lot of parents really needed help. So it's a really neat program.
During the school year, many children rely on in-school food programs, but during the summer, that safety net is gone. In Mississauga, 1,300 volunteers are packing 250,000 food kits with 16 items in each. They will be shipped across Canada to help bridge that gap. Every month, 2 million Canadians access food banks. 1/3 of those are kids. CTV National News returns in a moment. Lots of NHL playoff excitement for Canadian teams tonight. The Edmonton Oilers can book their ticket to the Western Conference Finals this evening with a win over the Vegas Golden Knights. The Oilers lead the series 3-1 and can close it out tonight in Sin City.
Work for it, playing these types of games and get to this point in the season in the series, so excited about it.
He's excited. I'm nervous. It's a roller coaster of emotions for Leaf fans as Toronto returns to home ice tonight for Game 5. After taking a 2-0 series lead, the Panthers have clawed back to tie the series at 2. And the Winnipeg Jets have been pushed to the brink of elimination against the Stars after Game 4 loss last night. That's it for our newscast for this Wednesday. We're going to put some good energy out there and leave you with celebrations from the last Leaf home game, which they won. Good luck to the Oilers tonight, but go Leafs go. I'm Heather Wright. Your local CTV News starts right now.